So we sat down and we started like working on the overall script. I had like an hour's worth of movie, and so talking together, we figured out like, okay, well here's the budget. What can we do? And for what I originally wanted, we just didn't really have the money or time for it, and especially me, because work and everything, and so we talked about it for about two weeks total, and then we set a date to film, and it was like, all right, so let's start working on it.
On set, I was really basically responsible for camera work. The majority of the film I did shoot on the C100. It was a lot harder than what I thought to kind of mimic moonlight as far as internal settings go. Cory Watson-Kruger helped out amazingly with multiple lights. He's kind of had to work with me for every shot to make sure that we made sure the moonlight was coming from the same direction in every shot, and that it wasn't overpowering, didn't look like daylight, things like that. Yeah. I would stand to my left so that the light's coming from the same direction.
We did have a lighting problem. I was holding the lights. I had this one bar light I held up to represent pretty much what you wanted. Would be like the moon. You wanted that shot. You wanted a little bit of light from outside, but not too much. And it was towards the end when we were shooting. It ended up going out. The battery ran out, unfortunately. It was supposed to last a little bit longer. I guess it didn't charge correctly when we went back in. So we had a bunch of mini lights that I had to mess around and navigate and get closer to reproduce some of that same light I was producing.
We talked back and forth a lot about different locations, and we always kind of knew we had the Armstrong Center in Belton to fall back on. We kept pushing out and finding different locations. After so many rejections, we got closer and closer to the day of filming, and I literally called Ty and I was like, hey man, we haven't actually called the Armstrong Center, and can we use the location? So that was something that we had to do right away, and luckily the owner of the Armstrong Center is a great guy, and he was totally down for it. He was like, yeah, you guys used it before, took care of it, so no problem. I don't think he knew that we were going to have as much blood as we had, but he was totally down for it.
Some of the places would require somebody that works there being there with us, and we knew we were going to be pushing it into the early morning hours. And luckily, renting out the Armstrong Center, it was by day, so we were able to, shoot as long as we wanted. We could do it overnight if we needed to, and not, have the stress of timing and people interfering with that.
All right, I am rolling now.
Alright, action!
As far as casting goes, we had put out a couple of ads throughout Facebook acting groups and things like that. We got a lot of great responses. The main thing that came to this particular project was making sure that people were local. We didn't want to waste anyone's time. And by local, I mean as far as from Killeen to Austin. Luckily, we have a lot of mutual friends that we didn't know about. And then that slowly built on, this person knows that person, and then this person knows that person, and we were able to piece things together.
So unfortunately, the clerk that was originally supposed to play did drop off. I believe she moved at the last minute. Something came up where she had to move, and like when I was there, inside that room, that convenience store, there wasn't really a lot for me to do. So I went ahead and stepped in and became the cashier as well. That was something we kind of knew a little bit ahead of time, so we just went ahead and filled me in there. I knew the script. I wasn't 100% line for line, so I did have to go in there and go through some lines and definitely have to hit that part like they wanted it.
It was a lot of just asking friends, and like we put ads out on Facebook, and luckily we found some really cool people. And actually the weird thing is we had this guy named Paul who was going to play the sheriff originally, and he ended up not being able to show up due to his the tires on his car blew out. So
he sent me pictures and everything. It was about an hour and a half before everyone was meeting up, so I was kind of like, well, I need to go talk to Ty real quick.
On my way to go pick up one of the crew members, there was this white car sitting outside, and it was like an old Ford. It was like an I don't know the exact date. I was gonna say 70s, but anyways, and I was like, that's the sheriff's car. So I pulled in, I went and talked to the guy, and you know, he was ended up being around that time that we got the message from Paul.
He came back and he was like, hey, I found a car. And I was like, well, that's good you found a car, but we kind of need a sheriff to go in that car now. He was like, well, he said some obscenities, and then he left, and then he came back in, and he was stressing. I saw the other Cory give him Dr. Pepper, rubbing his shoulders, trying to calm him down. He finally got his stuff together. The owner of the car was actually offered the role. We were like kind of their last minute pinch, so we're like, hey, Steve, you want the role? He said, sure, why not?
He actually worked out great. He fit into the costume. It was perfect. Like, could not have worked out better.
Yeah, from all the way from rolling the window down is their problem. And let's do this. And action.